Hey, welcome back to the Woodworking Garage and another honest tool review. Today we're taking a look at another pocket hole jig that's better than the Kreg 720 Pro. So stick around. Hey, just as a reminder, my tool reviews are honest and unbiased. Most of the tools I feature on this channel I purchase with my own money. However, sometimes I do get things for free. My channel is not sponsored and my videos are not sponsored, so I get to say whatever I want. I'm going to bring you the honest truth. I'm going to let you know what I like and what I don't like about a product. Today we're taking a look at the Massca M2 pocket hole jig. And I got to tell you, there's some great features about this jig. And stick around to the end of the video because there's a surprise feature at the end. So after a viewer told me about the Massca product, I reached out to the company and asked them if I could do a review of their pocket hole jig. They were happy to send me one and I received it about a week later. And as I've mentioned before, I have a lot of respect for companies that will send me a product not knowing what I'm going to say and not knowing if I'm going to like it or not. So they've already earned my respect. This jig comes with, of course, the instructions. We have 2 Allen wrenches, we have the drill driver, a drill bit, 2 extension rods, I'll explain those in a moment, a starter set of screws, and a base plate that we can attach to the drill block guide when we remove it. To start with, I just want to go over the jig and say that it is an aluminum jig and it's very durable and very well made. I like the fact that all the edges and sides and corners are polished, so there's nothing that's terribly sharp, unlike the other 2 jigs I recently reviewed. I like the fact that it's a familiar style to the Kreg K4, which has been around for years. The fact that it's all aluminum will provide durability and it'll last for decades. It has the familiar style push type clamp with a little twisty on the end for adjustments. It is a low profile. There's only a 1/2 inch between your work surface and the top of the jig, so you can easily use any 1/2 inch stock to provide additional support. There are 4 pre-drilled mounting holes for those of you that like to mount your jigs to your boards. Unlike other pocket hole jigs in a similar style, this one does come with a dust collection port. The drill guide block is easy to adjust. Just loosen these brass thumb screws and you can easily slide it up and down. You have both an imperial and metric scale on the front, and you have 2 pocket hole drill guides here that are set 1 1/4 inches apart. This jig also comes with this depth collar gauge, and it's marked for 1/2 to 3/4 to 7/8 to 1 inch to 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 inches. And how this works, you simply stick it into the hole right here at the bottom of the jig, and you rotate it so that whatever depth of wood you're going to be working with is closest to the guide block. In this case, in this example, I use 1 1/2 inches. Next, you want to adjust your guide block and raise it up to the 1 1/2 inch mark, identifying the thickness of your material. Next, you take your drill bit, you drop it down inside the hole. When the drill bit touches the gauge, you know that's where you're at, and that's where you need to slip on your stop collar and tighten it up. And I've already done that at this point. So this drill bit is now set for 1 1/2 inch stock. Now this jig has a unique feature in that it comes with 2 stabilizing bars and support blocks. And I'll show you how that works. You take the included hex wrench and you loosen up these 2 screws on the back. Then you take one of your stabilizing bars, you slip it into the hole, and you tighten up your screw again. Once you have those attached, now you have 2 extension wings that provide support for your stock. When you get ready to clamp down your stock, it's pushing up against the guide block, and it's also nicely up against the support blocks in the back. It's resting on it on the bottom, and you have support on the back side. This is a great feature. I like that it's all metal. It's durable. It's not going to easily break off. Now another great feature about this setup here, you loosen this thumb screw, this support block comes right off. You can spin it, reinsert it, and then put this thumb screw in this other hole right here. It can be adjusted, you tighten it down, and now you have a stop block for repeatable pocket holes in the same position on multiple pieces of wood. I really like that feature as well. You see that on one of the other brands, but it's a real flimsy, plastic, gimmicky kind of setup. This is all metal construction. It's very durable. I like this a lot. This is just really nice. These thumb screws make it easy to adjust, or you can take it off, spin it back around to use it as a support block again. You do have to take out the thumb screw, reposition it, and there you go. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I really like to clamp my jigs to my workbench. This jig does not have a place to clamp, so that's a feature I don't like. There's nothing here to be able to grab hold of and clamp to. However, it does have a T-track on the bottom that allows you to use a track saw clamp so that you can easily clamp it to your workbench. Now, another feature that I really like about this jig is that you can remove the guide block. To do that, you have 4 screws on the bottom. Now, based on your feedback, I know that a lot of you, this is an important feature, to be able to remove the guide block and then take it to your workpiece. We do have an included base plate that we can attach using the same screws. So that now we can take our jig to our workpiece. Now, what's really unique about this feature is that you can still adjust for your depth. You loosen up the thumb screws and this guide block still sits in this carriage, and you can still adjust it for whatever thickness stock that you're using. Set it up, tighten it down. Of course, you want to clamp your jig to your workpiece, and then you're ready to drill. I really like that the dust port comes with it. You still have dust collection when you're going with your guide block to your workpiece. I really like this feature. I think it's outstanding, and I haven't seen another tool company that does anything similar to this. Now, what I don't like about this feature, as you just saw, it's a little cumbersome to remove the drill block from the main jig. You have 4 different screws you have to remove. Then you have to put at least 2 screws back in with the base plate. In order to use it that way. And I have to be honest with you. As great as this feature is, I probably won't be using it like that, because it's just time consuming and a little cumbersome to have to take out 4 screws and then add 2 screws back to a base plate just so I can go drill 1 or 2 pocket holes on my workpiece that maybe I forgot to drill earlier. An improvement to this jig would be if the base plate was attached and remained attached, and maybe the main body was indented so that it slides right onto the jig, so your base plate is there all the time. And also maybe if they used thumb screws, 1 or 2 thumb screws either on the side or on the bottom, that allows you to quickly remove the drill block. That would be just an outstanding feature. So it's a great feature as it is, just a little cumbersome to use. Now, there is another option to remove the guide block, and that's simply to loosen up the thumb screws and slide it out. However, when you do that, you don't have the ability to attach the base plate. You can't easily adjust for your different thicknesses, but you still do have the dust collection port. So at this point, how I would use the jig is I would determine the distance from the end of the jig to the end of my board that I needed for different thicknesses of the stock that I'm working with, and I just measure it out to whatever distance it needed to be, clamp it down, and drill my holes. However, there's a downside to this also. And that is getting the drill block back into the jig. The drill block has these T-slots on both sides and these little T-screws that are connected to these thumb screws. And trying to get this back in exactly where it needs to be can be a little bit cumbersome sometimes. But it can be done. And actually, in all honesty, that time it went in rather easy compared to the couple of times that I tested this out before making this video. It took me several minutes to kind of get those T-bolts lined up exactly right in order for this guide block to slide down in there. Because of the engineering of this jig is so precise, there's absolutely no wiggle room, there's no play at all, so it has to be just right for this drill block to be able to slide back down in there. But I guess with a little practice, hey, you saw it, it's not that big of a deal. That's how I will remove and use the drill block. I will not be removing this carriage piece, it's just too cumbersome to remove. Overall, I really like this jig a lot, and here's why. It's very durable. It's all metal. It's at a great price point. Check the links down in the description below. And it functions very well. It's got a couple of great features. It is lacking an auto-adjusting clamp, like you might find on the new Kreg or even the Armor Auto Jig. Voila! The Armor Tool Company's clamp upgrade for the K4 also fits the Massca M2. So now you can insert your stock and easily adjust the clamp to secure your stock to your jig using this upgrade. How convenient is that? We just took an already outstanding jig and made it just a little bit better. Okay, in testing this jig, we're going to use just 1.5 inch stock. And I'm going to do it without dust collection. As with all jigs that I've used so far, they all have a little bit of tear out. This one isn't bad, just a little touch-up sanding is needed. For dust collection on this jig, I found that these small shop vac adapters that you can get at the home center in the shop vac section work very well for a lot of my tools. This fits in nicely right into that hole and allows me to connect my 2.5 inch dust hose. I'll just slide the hose on, clamp it down, and now we'll test it again. The dust collection works very well. As you can see, the only dust that came out is what came out of the holes after I drilled it. So hey, if you're looking for a simple yet very durable design pocket hole jig that's priced right, this may be the one for you. I now have two favorite pocket hole jigs that will remain in my shop, which makes it a little difficult because when I get ready to do a pocket hole project, I'm going to have to decide which jig I prefer to use. And as you may have seen before on one of my previous videos, I had upgraded my K4 jig with the auto clamp from Armor. Well, this is going to replace the K4. With that auto clamp, I'll be replacing my K4 with this jig. Hey, one thing to look for when you start looking at this jig online, the company does have two models. This is the M2, which comes with these stabilizing bars and the support blocks. The other version is an M1 version, and it does not have those. Other than that, the jig is exactly the same. I don't see a model number on the box, but if you do notice on the picture here, it does show the stabilizing bars and the support blocks. So if that's what you're looking for, make sure you purchase the right one. Hey, if you missed my other pocket hole jig video reviews that I've done recently, I'm going to put a couple of links right over here so that you can go and check out. If you got value out of this video, please give me that thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe if you want to continue receiving honest tool reviews. Be sure to click on those links, and I'll see you over there.